Unit 16, Gateway. We usually think of a clock as a physical thing, like an alarm clock or a wristwatch. But a clock is really a process embodied in a machine, and the nature of that process is repetitive. A clock can be almost any process that repeats itself over and over again for an indefinite period. Water clocks drip at a steady pace. Quartz crystals vibrate regularly. Indeed, it is almost impossible to think of a clock that does not depend on a repetitive cycle of events. The only example that comes to mind readily is a candle marked in hours. But here, too, there is iteration, the repeated burning of molecules of wax. So this, too, is an iterative process, although at first masked. The use of radiocarbon dating is another, much longer-scale clock that also appears to be like this. It seems to yield a smooth timescale, but in fact does not. The decay of atoms of carbon-14 is repetitive, although on a large scale it gives the appearance of being continuous. Exercises 1. In academia, you are taught to write up your results. Thus, I came up with a hypothesis, then I did this experiment, and then I did another experiment, then I tested my ideas some more, and so on until, dramatic fanfare, ta-da! I proved this. If you wrote this way online, very few of your readers would make it to your dramatic conclusion, no matter how exciting or groundbreaking it was. Online, we don't have the patience to wait for your big reveal at the end. Instead, you need to tell us up front, I proved this, and here's how I know it. Your readership may still dwindle and trail off over the course of your writing, but at least the vast majority know what it is you've achieved from the very beginning. A few more of them may stay along for the ride if the opening line, the hook, in journalistic terms, is particularly interesting. If you grab their attention early, you can more likely convince more readers to stay for the whole story. Exercises 2. The human perceptual system is designed to recognize objects under changing illuminations, situations, and contexts. It is extraordinarily adapted to a constantly changing world. To deal with this uncertainty, the brain uses not one, but multiple routes. If one is blocked, it takes another route. This immense flexibility of the brain to rely on changing cues according to whatever is available is known as vicarious functioning. It can be found in most biological systems. For instance, migrating birds fly thousands of miles and may rely on the stars to navigate. But if it's a cloudy day, they may instead rely on landmarks or their magnetic sense. Similarly, the brain can recognize a face by the shape of the eyes, nose, and mouth. In extreme cases, only a few lines are sufficient, as when we recognize the face of a celebrity in caricatures made with just a few pencil strokes. Face recognition also functions even when parts of a face are covered and internal features, such as eyes, are hardly visible. In this case, the brain relies on external features such as hair and head shape. Exercises 3. Bir Towil is a strange place. In January 1899, administrators of the British Empire decided to finalize a border between the countries of Egypt and Sudan. In colonial fashion, they decided to use the conveniently straight line of the 22nd parallel of latitude. Unsurprisingly, this new international border arbitrarily tore through local tribes and communities, and in 1902, the British drew a new line to reflect tribal territories. The combination of these two intersecting lines brought about the creation of two new areas: the large inhabitable coastal area called the Hala-Ib Triangle and an empty landlocked patch of desert, which is Bir Tawil. To keep the desirable Hala-Ib, Egypt understandably claimed the original strait border of 1899, whereas Sudan, with the same goal in mind, claimed the new 1902 line. The strange result of this long-standing conflict is that, to this day, both countries refuse to claim Bir Tawil, an area of land roughly the size of London, as it would mean giving up a greater prize. This makes Bir Tawil the largest, perhaps the only piece of land that no country wants. Exercises. 4. An in-group can become a reference group, a group that is used as the frame of reference for evaluating one's own behavior. Members of a volunteer organization, for example, may evaluate themselves by the standards of the group and feel proud about their contribution to a community service project. This positive self-evaluation reflects the normative effect of a reference group whose numbers share the same view of themselves. If other members of your reference group, say your parents, have high self-esteem, you too are likely to share that norm and have high self-esteem. The normative effect basically involves imitating the reference group. However, reference groups can also have comparison effects and associative effects on self-appraisals. If most of your classmates shine in academic achievement, you are likely to compare yourself with them. As a result, you may have a negative self-evaluation, feeling that your academic performance is not up to par. Being associated with the brilliant group, though, makes you feel proud of yourself, basking in reflected glory. Exercises. 5. In music, proximity may refer to elements being close together in pitch, time, or space. For example, notes that are similar in pitch may be grouped together. Notes are also grouped together if they are played together in time or if they come from the same instrument or section of a larger musical group. To get a sense of the idea of proximity, imagine a person playing a piano. Typically, the right hand plays notes that are higher in pitch than the left hand. Also, most often, it is the right hand that plays the melody, whereas the left hand plays the bass line or accompaniment. Even though all of the notes are played in close spatial proximity and at approximately the same time, we hear the notes from the right hand emerging as melody because they are grouped together with respect to pitch. Similarly, in some of Bach's famous solo music for violin, the violinist essentially creates two streams of music by simultaneously playing both high and lower notes. Perceptually, we group the high notes together and group the low notes together, so we hear it as polyphonic or as two lines of music. Exercises. 6. Public goods are undervalued in markets which exist for private goods, but rarely for public goods. For example, aquatic habitats such as wetlands provide diverse benefits that are often public goods, including breeding or refuge for unique species, recreation, hunting, and tourism, or purification of water supplies. These benefits are enjoyed simultaneously by many people and are provided to them for free by the natural functioning of the wetlands. As a result, there is no market and thus no price for these public good uses of wetlands. But the actual value of these services is not zero. Because many people benefit from these services, their value is the total additional benefits of all individuals who enjoy provision of these services by wetlands. This value could be huge, even though there is no apparent marketplace for these wetland services. This gap between the zero price for wetland services and their actual value to all beneficiaries indicates how much these public goods are undervalued in markets.